Alright, so this is a video I've been meaning to make for a while now. The Golden State Warriors have traded James Wiseman to the Detroit Pistons, basically for a bunch of second round picks that eventually became Gary Payton II. Well, it was Sadiq Bey, and then it ended up being second round picks and Gary Payton II. But nonetheless, James Wiseman is now in Detroit. I think this is a good move for Golden State. Wiseman wasn't fitting. They ended up getting a guy who fits. I did a video on Gary Payton going to Golden State, so Golden State got better from this move. I think this is a good move for James Wiseman getting out of that situation in the Bay Area that just wasn't working for him. He gets a new opportunity now, a chance to shine, a chance, like everyone said, like Draymond has said, like Steve Kerr has said, ad nauseum, this is an opportunity for James Wiseman to really just learn through his mistakes. He's going to get an opportunity in Detroit to play. He's going to get to play a ton. He's going to get to have some highs, have some lows, and really just figure it out in a stress-free environment. He's going to be playing next to a bunch of young players. Now, if this is a good move for Detroit, we'll just have to wait and see. It doesn't hurt Detroit because they're in a position right now where they're pretty much just tanking. Their best player, Cade Cunningham, is hurt. So they can just let this season ride out, see what they got in Jalen Duran, see what they got in Wiseman. Can these two guys play next to each other? Jaden Ivey, how's he looking to end the season? Keep him healthy. He's a very explosive player, attacks the rim, falls down hard a bunch. So you want to make sure that he maintains his health. I like what Detroit's doing with Bogdan Bogdanovic as small forward next to all these young guys. It's good to have a veteran there sometimes who can show these guys how to win, how to be a pro, just the ins and outs of how everything goes. So I like this move for Wiseman and Golden State. Detroit, they don't lose anything doing this deal. Sadiq Bey wasn't really going to fit with their long-term plans anyway. They already had ball handlers. They had Sadiq Bey coming off the bench anyway. I'm sure he wasn't too pleased with that. But I've just seen a ton of Golden State fans, and the Warrior fans get real loud on social media. I've seen a ton of Warrior fans pretty much say that the Warriors organization either is crazy or out of their mind for trading James Wiseman, or they made some big time mistake, or you have the people who are calling James Wiseman a bust. I did a video in the off season, before this season even started over the summer, on James Wiseman and my time at the summer league in Las Vegas watching James Wiseman play. And there were things I liked and things I didn't like. And my issue with James Wiseman, I've said it since he was drafted, I didn't like him getting drafted by Golden State, because what's a young, inexperienced post player going to do for a motion offense? Like, he didn't understand read and react. This is a guy who's a freak athlete. He wants to put 2 feet in the paint, catch the ball in the paint, make a quick move before they call 3 seconds in the key. Most of the time, he wants to shoot these fadeaway jumpers and go away from the contact. That's been my biggest issue with him. I saw an article back when he was getting drafted that said like his dad played volleyball instead of basketball because he didn't like the physicality. Wiseman, as you can see when he's out there on the basketball court, he doesn't really like to get in the trenches with the other big men and grab those boards. He's a little softer. He's reluctant to really bang. Even when he's getting deep post position against smaller guys, unless he gets his spin move off and he's able to just make like a real quick, it's an amazing move. He'll make that quick spin move or a little drop step and then he'll dunk it or something. If he's not able to get that off though, he's gonna fade away, or he's gonna take some hook shot from quite far away. Like he's more comfortable facing up. And in Golden State, they just weren't going to let a big man face up 16 feet from the basket and shoot contested mid-range jumpers. Like, that just was never going to happen. He doesn't really set good screens. He's moving on the screens. He's not getting enough contact, or he's getting too much contact. So there's just a lot of intangibles. He has bad hands. There's just a lot of things he has to figure out. Now, there are some great things about his game. He's extremely athletic. He has an amazing touch. He runs the floor very well. You can tell that even though he's going through a lot right now, he's battling and he's trying to give the best effort that he can. And he's just trying to, he hasn't quit yet. So he has that determination. He's not quitting. He's still going after it. He has that athleticism that you just can't teach. He has that size that you just can't teach. And he has some game. Like, he really does have a nice face-up game. Like, this is a guy who, if he was shorter and he still had that athleticism, at 6'8", he would be a wing in the NBA, because he does have that face-up, ball handle, jumper. He has that. He has that bag to him. So he's a very talented young man. He just was never going to fit in Golden State. So I think the people blaming it all on James Wiseman and calling him a bust, I don't think that's fair. I think the people blaming it all on Golden State and saying that they didn't do a good enough job, this, and that. You know, Golden State, like I said in the video, I would have liked to see James Wiseman getting some minutes with the starters, whether that's in the starting lineup or midway, second quarter, third quarter, when the starters come back in, putting Wiseman in with those guys. And I think the Warriors were interested in doing that as well, but he ended up getting banged up. That definitely doesn't help. And the Warriors really haven't been in a position this entire season to really do those kind of things because of where they are in the standings. The Warriors have struggled this season, and they really blew a ton of games in the beginning of the year, and people think it's because they played the young guys. The Warriors lost a ton of games in the beginning of the season because they weren't playing defense and because Klay Thompson was going 5 for 20 every night. That's why the Warriors were losing games to start the season. And once Klay got it going, the Warriors have been able to beat a bunch of teams at home due to offense. On the road, they still struggle to do anything on the road because they don't play enough defense, and it shows on the road. And on the road, when you have a bunch of turnovers, it's harder to get over that hump on the road. When you're at home and you turn the ball over, you can still get past that because you're going to be making more shots than usual at home, and the other team's going to be missing more shots than usual on the road. So you can get past some turnovers. But, you know, that Warrior motion offense and the turnovers that come about it, and Steph Curry, and you got to live with the good and the bad that comes with Steph Curry, and the good outweighs the bad by so much, but he's going to turn the ball over, and some of them are going to be careless. And when Steph Curry's turning it over, when Draymond Green's turning it over, when you're not playing any defense, you're not going to win road games, and then you're going to be where they are right now. They're like the 10th seed in the standings, and when you're the 10th seed in the standings, you cannot play James Wiseman really any minutes. You can't afford to play a guy who doesn't really understand your offense or defensive schemes. Like they just didn't really know what to do with him. They just didn't have a place for him. And, you know, they're playing two-way guys and veterans who can't move that well because they just know what to do. You know, at this point, Golden State just needs guys who know what to do. And that's why Gary Payton is going to be so huge for them, because he knows what to do, and he adds a little bit of athleticism and definitely adds a ton of defense that they didn't have before. So, you know, once again, good move for Golden State, good move for Wiseman, and hopefully it's a good move for Detroit. But I'm going to let this video play. Let's see what they have to say about it.
We have some breaking news here on NBA Today. James Wiseman is headed to the Pistons. That's according to our Adrian Wojnarowski. For Saddiq Bey, Wiseman was the number 2 pick for the Warriors. And now we welcome in our Warriors reporter, Kendra Andrews.
Obviously, they end up trading Saddiq Bey, and it leads to them getting Gary Payton and some picks.
For a little bit more on this trade. Kendra, I'm curious, how did the Warriors decide that this was the deal they wanted to do and now was the time?
These two girls are sisters. I mean, you can see who got the looks. Obviously, Malika got all the looks in the family. No offense to Kendra, but man, she got that long oval face. But you know, Malika is definitely hella annoying. I haven't really heard much from the Kendra girl. The Kendra girl, I think, was the one who did that whole whoop that trick Memphis thing with the Warriors and started all that. So, you know, she's pretty messy. Malika doesn't really have, you know, any like morals as a reporter. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but the right way to phrase it. But this is the girl, Malika, who had her ear next to the locker room and was saying what the Celtics were saying in the locker room and stuff a couple years ago in the bubble. Like, you know, she just like, no integrity. That's the word for it. She has no integrity as a reporter. Like these girls, they were just trying to climb their way to the top. They're from the Bay Area, actually, but I don't really know anybody who knows them out here. So that's just funny. But I know what high school they went to. They from around the way.
Really good. I mean, as everyone's seen this season, right, James Wiseman has fallen out of the rotation. He's really been in and out of the lineup since he arrived in Golden State with various injuries. And the Warriors just weren't comfortable putting him out there with the way that their season has been going right now. They need someone who they feel can play right away, can contribute right away. And there has...
The audio with her mic is just horrible.
not been that amount of trust with James Wiseman this season. We've seen him go down to the G League, come back up. I was told earlier in the season there were some back and forth within the Warriors organization of, well, why should he be playing in the G League? He needs to be playing up here with us. What is going to get him the best reps?
Yeah, it's clear that Steve Kerr wasn't that crazy about James Wiseman, and I don't think it's anything against the kid personally or like his skill set or anything. I just think that Steve Kerr wanted some guys who are ready to win now, and Steve Kerr knows that the end is near with the Warriors dynasty, and he's trying to make sure that he can get one or two more before they say hasta la vista. And as far as as far as Bob Myers and Joe Lacob go, I'm not really sure where Bob Myers stands. I don't know if Bob Myers wanted them to play Wiseman or if he didn't want them to play Wiseman. I have a hard time kind of reading that. It does seem like he wanted them to play Wiseman a little bit more, and like there was a little bit of pushback between him and Kerr, but him and Kerr are on the same page for the most part. Joe Lacob was definitely the Wiseman fanboy who wanted to be light years ahead of the NBA and have the whole Splash Brothers thing and then transition into who he thought would be like the next Tim Duncan for him and just have a dominant big man and show the league that he could beat teams from the perimeter and then switch it up and beat teams with a dominant big. Like, he was definitely daydreaming.
At this trade deadline, with the Warriors still just hovering right above 500, Stephen Curry out indefinitely, the Warriors, if they could make a move now that they thought would help them, they were going to do it. Fender, thank you. I just want to...
And this is so big for the Warriors psyche because when you have guys like Draymond Green, Clay, Steph, and they're looking around in the locker room and they just feel like, why are there guys that can't help us do what we want to accomplish? It hurts them mentally. Like, it's going to be hard for them to really push through and do what they have to do to win another championship. But when they look around and they see Gary Payton and they see other veteran players, they know that they have guys who have been there and done it before, guys that have proven to them that they can win within the Warrior system. Then they start to feel like, okay, our organization is doing everything they can for us. Everybody's locked in. Everybody's on the same page. Hey, our morale is up. Let's go get it. And I should have said this in the Gary Payton video, but the Warriors as a team, they love Gary Payton. Like, they love his energy. They love what he brings to the team. James Wiseman, I'm not saying that they didn't like him, but he's a younger guy. I don't know if, like, his jokes and his personality, he seems like a little bit more shy, timid kind of guy. That's just my read on him. I don't know if he necessarily fit in the locker room the same way with these guys as Gary Payton, who you could just tell, like, Jordan Poole loves Gary Payton. Like, they just connect like that. And with Jordan Poole having his issues with Draymond Green, and even the Splash Bros don't really seem like they're the biggest fans of Jordan Poole at all times. You got Steph Curry showing Jordan Poole up, throwing his mouth guard. You got Klay Thompson sometimes not showing love or acknowledging Jordan Poole because, Klay knows that Jordan Poole is pretty much coming for his job. And in a lot of ways, you can make a lot of arguments that Jordan Poole should already have his job. So I'm not going to say that, but there was definitely a time where you could have said that when Klay was bricking everything to start the season. I mean, people really don't talk about the fact that Klay Thompson was missing everything to start the season. And because of that, the Warriors lost some games that they shouldn't have lost. And, I'm not trying to be hard on Klay because Klay's one of my favorite players ever. He's probably my favorite Warrior ever. This is the franchise I grew up watching all my life. Well, he's my second favorite Warrior ever after Baron Davis, of course. But I grew up watching Klay Thompson. I've seen his career from start to start till now, almost every single game. I mean, I watched the Warriors pretty much every game I catch the Warriors. So, I'm a big Klay Thompson fan. His game against OKC, Game 6, that's one of my favorite games ever. Like, that's one of my favorite games ever by any player. Like, he just came up so big. He's so clutch. Like, Steph Curry hasn't always been clutch, and contrary to popular belief, LeBron James is a little bit more clutch than people give credit for, and Steph Curry probably isn't as clutch as people give credit for. Like, LeBron is more clutch than Steph Curry overall, but that's a conversation for a different day. The point is, I don't want to be too hard on Klay Thompson because he was coming off of injuries, but that really set the Warriors back. Him struggling to start the season, Steph Curry getting hurt, of course, Wiggins being out a ton of games. This team has just had the injury bug. This team had a championship hangover. They've just been really catting off, They've been catting off, extremely catting off. And now that this unit gets a chance to really lock in and give it a real push before the postseason starts, I expect this team to play a little better just because they're going to have a better energy, a better groove going on within the team. And when Steph Curry gets back, they're as good as anybody in the Western Conference. I mean, they really are still. I mean, the Phoenix Suns are probably my favorite out the West, but, You know, they're trying to make a lot of things connect at one time. The Clippers, I really like the Clippers, especially after the trade deadline, but we have to see how that all unfolds for them. The Warriors, though, I mean, they're still the safest bet. You know, once they're healthy and all their guys are together, we saw Steph Curry. He wasn't healthy until game one against Denver last year, and they were pretty much using the Denver Nuggets as practice. They were toying with them and still beat them in 5 games. So, this Warriors team, once they get healthy and, you know, Gary Payton and everybody's in the mix, they're as good as anybody in the Western Conference. In the East, give me Milwaukee and Boston over almost anybody in the West. But in the West, the Warriors, they're right up there with the best of them.
The details of this trade. So the Warriors are trading James Wiseman to the Pistons for Saddiq Bey. Bey is actually on his way to Atlanta as part of a multi-team deal. This deal also involves the Hawks sending 5 second-round picks to the Warriors to acquire Bey. So there's a whole lot of moving pieces here. Kendra, thank you so much for joining us. Zach, help me make sense of why the Warriors are making this move and why these second-round picks are so valuable.
We'll see why, but if this is a standalone move, it's for the picks and it's to save money because they can't make a real giant trade anymore without James Wiseman's salary. So TBD, we'll see. You can always build more stuff in here and there. But second-round picks, we just saw why second-round picks are such valuable currency. When you're a really good team, you've probably traded a lot of your first-round picks. You probably got a lot of expensive players you don't want to trade. You probably got a couple of young guys on cheap contracts you'd really like to keep. What are you left with? The Bucks just threw 5 second-round picks to get Jay Crowder at the Nets.
And that was a great pickup. Jay Crowder is going to help the Bucks a ton. Like the Bucks having Joe Ingles and Jay Crowder in their closing lineup alongside Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, and Giannis. Or they can even throw in Lopez, Bobby Portis, however they want to switch it up, Javon Carter. They have so many options. And I'm really starting to like the Bucks to win the NBA championship this year. And this kind of just feels like a chalk year. Like I could see Patrick Mahomes, he wins the Super Bowl, and he also gets MVP this season. I could see Giannis getting MVP and winning the NBA championship, but I wouldn't be mad if Jokic won MVP either because his advanced metrics are just insane.
That's the kind of currency they are, and you can say, well, you can always buy them at the draft. Well, not every owner wants to spend $2.5 million for a second-round pick. So when you're running out of stuff, you kind of pull them up from the couch cushions and throw as many of them as you can, and you get a Jay Crowder, and it works.
What do you think, Perk?
You know what? I actually like this move, and I think the Warriors did right by Wiseman. He didn't fit their system. I don't.
100%.
Steve Kerr was a big fan. That's just from me on the outside looking in. And I also think him going to Detroit is a great fit. I mean, they got nice young talent there. You know, he could grow, he could develop. He's going to get minutes. That's what he.
And the Detroit Pistons say they plan on starting him, so that's going to be real good for him.
I tell people all the time, nothing gets you ready for the NBA like getting minutes and playing time in the NBA.
Yeah.
So he has to go through his growing pains. We know the talent is there. He has to continue to develop. And the one thing that I do know, you know, although the Detroit, I know they be getting spankings every single night, but at the end of the day, Dwayne Casey is big on development, and he's also big on professionalism, so he can learn a lot going to Detroit.
Does it worry you at all that Detroit has like 6 centers on their roster? Like it feels like there are other shoes kind of to drop with this trade, including the Hawks bringing in another kind of 3-and-D-ish wing player. What does that mean for Bogdanovich? He's getting crowded on the wing there.
Well, but Zach, if you have a chance to get like a guy that went number 2, a lottery pick, and you could bring him in, you gotta forget the size and the position.
No, I don't disagree, and hovering over that is like, someone's going to have to pay Saddiq Bey. He's going to be up for a contract extension, and that was complicated for the Warriors, too, because they have 5 big money players already.
It feels like something is brewing in Atlanta.
Shoes are dropping.
So Woj just reported the Hawks are trading Justin Holiday and Frank Kaminsky to Houston for Garrison Matthews and Bruno Fernando, and that's a cost-cutting move for the Hawks. And we've heard John Collins' name out there. He hasn't been like it feels like something is bubbling up. But is my gut feeling correct? Should I follow that gut feeling?
Well, obviously this video was from last week. As you guys know, Saddiq Bey is with the Atlanta Hawks. John Collins is remaining with the Atlanta Hawks. Now, Collins does what he always does for the Hawks. Saddiq Bey, in his first few games back with the Hawks, has been kind of quiet, like nothing too crazy, but we'll see if he can give them a boost. I think the Hawks are just kind of in a weird place, stuck with Trae Young not playing winning basketball. It's really hard to compete in the NBA when your best player is 5'11", 6 feet tall. Like, you're just relying a lot on a guy who's just going to be outsized and really just at a disadvantage point throughout the entirety of a game. Like, people don't realize that the NBA, at the end of the day, it's a big man league. Like, you can talk about these guards and these point guards and this and that. Steph Curry, Dwayne Wade, Isaiah Thomas with the Pistons. There's only so many guards that have won a championship, where there's so many teams that have won a championship where the guard was like a 6'3", 6'4", 6 feet, and carried them to a victory. Like, Chris Paul doesn't have any championships for a reason. Like, he's come up short a few times, but it's just really tough to do. So Trae Young, is he going to be good enough to ever get over that hump for Atlanta? I don't know. They just feel like they're going to be a play-in, a 6-5, like, really good year. Everybody's locked in. They're a 4 seed, but they're probably going to fire the coach soon or start trading guys. I mean, they're getting to that point. But back to the point. I think Wiseman to the Pistons is a good move for him. Hopefully, it's a good move for the Pistons. And the Warriors saved a lot of money, and they got a player in Gary Payton who could help them right away. So overall, it's a good trade. Everybody came up here. It'll be interesting to see how Wiseman's career plays out. I'm rooting for the kid. I don't want it to be like a Kwame Brown situation all over again. I like that he's still fighting, still competing. He's showing some confidence still. And it'll be fun to see Gary Payton back on the Warriors and how that plays out too. So that'll be interesting to see. As always, thanks for watching. Until next time, peace.